I first of all want to thank um, Andrea Miller, who is a living legend. The instant I met her, I immediately knew I was with a kindred spirit. I want to thank the famous Lorna and Christiana, they have been down here in Hawkinsville with the famous democracy van, and they sent shockwaves through the community with their heart and their love for people and community. And I want to thank you, Roxanne, for holding my hand uh, from the day I met you. This is such a wonderful group. I can be a firecracker, and when I get going, sometimes it's hard to control me. And I'm 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 feeling confident that that won't happen for several reasons. One, I've got the director of our foundation here, Mrs. Kim, and I've got you, Roxanne, there. I'm also fasting. So if those three factors don't keep me under control, then there's really no hope for me. So with that opening, let's get right into it. Um, I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled to be on this call. I feel like I'm a part of a movement and not a moment. And two things I want to point out very quickly, and I'm going to go somewhat rapid fire, slow me down if I need to. Two things happened recently. One was the Capitol takeover in Washington, D.C., which was a horrendous event. And the second thing was the senatorial elections here in Georgia, which literally brought the world into Georgia. Those two separate events brought to the forefront of thinking people the importance of democracy centers, that people that are interested in American politics and democracy, they need the ability to hook in to local institutions so that they're able to mobilize, organize, deputize, and energize the voters to participate in the election process. And so similarly, the takeover in Washington illustrated the incredible need for civic education. And so the ability to deputize, organize, mobilize, and energize local people, and an emphasis on civic education is speaking about a form that needs to take. And my hat's off to Andrea, who had the vision and the very good sense and commitment to bring form to that concept and created the democracy centers. So that's the first thing. The second thing is similar to, I think, Christians that say, when two or more are gathered in my name, I am there. Speaking about, of course, the Christ. Similarly, when two or more people who are committed and want to be a part of their society, when two or more are gathered, they have a democracy center. That is a democracy center. That's the first point I want to make, that when you think about the democracy center, while it is important to have form, and we're going to talk about what it should look like physically, understand that the heart of any democracy center are the people. It's the people. Democracy is when people gather together to talk about freedom and justice and equality and civic responsibility and all those things that make our society stable, secure, and livable. Years ago, I worked with an organization called the National Democratic Institute for International Affairs, NDI, and they were committed to exporting democratization programs around the world. And we were involved in election monitoring, political party training, civic education, civic organization capacity building, as well as civ mill relations. All of those particular competencies is actually what America does internationally in nascent democracies that's trying to strengthen their democracies. So keep that in mind. Now let's talk about the actual, because people are at different places in their respective communities around their centers. So first, what is a democracy center? What is it, and how do we stand it up, and what do we do every day? So what it is are the people like that's on this call. You are the democracy center. So when you're walking down the street, when you're going to work, when you're shopping at the supermarket, you're politically awake, you're politically astute, you're switched on, you're aware. So you bring that awareness into a collective group of individuals in an organizational structure with a director of the center or a program manager of the space, and then that awareness trickles down to the team that you have. So what it is a locally based expression of the things I just mentioned. That takes different forms. In some instances, it could be a standalone organization like the Newberry Foundation that was pre-existing. In some instances, it could be an office in another space where you have individuals who are engaged in the process of democracy. In other instances, it could be a school. It could be folks gathering under a tree. But the point is, once it's established, it then becomes the center of gravity for that community of all things democracy. So it's the center of gravity for a particular community for all things democracy. And it has a feel to it, it has a look, a shape, and it has a mission. If you have an existing organization and you can merge your mission with the democracy mission that's seamless, that's fine. But you essentially want to be the one-stop shop where people can come in just like they're going to a historic town, and they can get information about democracy. When are the local, state, national elections taking place? Who are the candidates running? What are their issues? What resources do they need in order to be better equipped at participating in their democracy? These are the sorts of things to just consider. So for example, you could set up a welcome space in your space where you've got voter registration forms, you have political buttons, you have dates and times of elections, when they're going to take place. You have information that's friendly, that's user-friendly, that's accessible, that they can have ideally for free. And then you can decorate and curate your democracy exhibit in a myriad of ways. Because we have a heritage center, we incorporate democracy into our heritage center. So for example, you could create a voting booth with real sample ballots where you can show community members how to fill out ballots, and you can have them walk through a training where they actually insert the sample ballot in a mock voting station, and you can set up people at different stations where you have them check their ID and you inform them about proper ID. So depending on, you could do things around art, around food, a host of things in a creative way that's locally anchored in the local culture, the local swag, the local rhythm and feel of the community, so that because it becomes a part of their everyday. So just like they go in for a Starbucks cup of coffee, hey, we're just gonna hang out at the Democracy Center. And when they get in, guess what they may find on the television? They may find C-SPAN, they may find BBC, they may find documentaries that you're scheduled in your calendar of events where democracy is being talked about. You're focusing on voting, you're focusing on political party training, organizing, all sorts of things that will help the end user have a 360 comprehensive experience over time with democracy. So you're demystifying things for the beneficiaries. You're explaining things. You're a resource center. But if you conceptualize yourself as the center of gravity with all things democracy, you can curate your space however you see fit. Okay, so that's so a little bit about how to think about this. When you think about a democracy center, just think about yourself. You are the democracy center, and just bring your passion, your interest, your curiosity about democracy into your space. So you set up your information space within your center. If you have laptops, computers, then you're going to another aspect of your center, because now what we're planning to do here is training. So in terms of our schedule, we want to have training where we're training young people, because you can target different groups. One of your goals, for example, could be when you do your strategic plan, you want a student association affiliated with your democracy center at the local high school. So now you've done training with young people on what it means to be, an active member of their society. And then you can train them and mobilizing them, helping them with phone banking, canvassing, voter registration. But all the while you're increasing their IQ. So in your democracy center, as you set up, well, what are we going to do every day? Well, depending on how many days you're open, we're open 3 days a week. So once a week, every Saturday from 11 until 1, for example, community members will know they're showing a documentary down there at the Democracy Center, and you can publish your documentaries that you want to show in the local newspaper. You can get it on Facebook. And then what you'll find is people will start coming in and watching these documentaries. You could also have a lecture series where you're inviting the local sheriff, you're inviting the local commissioners, you're inviting your congressmen and political individuals from different organizations, the NAACP, Black Lives Matter, folks in your area, where you have them come in, have them give a talk, advertise it, have a little cheese, something to drink, where you've got your videos that you're showing once a week, you've got your speakers coming in, and then you've got everyday people with fascinating stories. And we do a lot with the elderly, people that have been through the civil rights movement, the women's movement, people who've been on the front lines. Get them in there, let them tell stories, get them out front, because ideally you want to be in the back. As you have an impact in your community, you want the community to take ownership of the space through your documentaries, through showing through inviting speakers to come in and different groups to talk about democracy. You can do training. It's a lot of fun. And when you do training, make it fun. Democracy is fun. This is what democracy looks like. It's music, it's James Brown, it's Aretha Franklin. Because if you look at, for example, the African-American participation in democracy, we were dancing the whole while we had the fists in the air and laying in and sitting in. We had the music cranking, and people were meeting each other, and it's a human interactive dance. Democracy is an art as much as it is a science. So don't lose your swagger, because it's that swagger and your heart beating to the rhythm of freedom, of justice, and you play it, sing it loud. You gotta feel it, and the people are gonna feel it, and you gotta give them information and help them. Because what you're doing really is empowering people. And you're meeting them where they are, you're assessing what their needs are, and you're helping them empower themselves with their education, with raising their level of education, which making sure they have their voter ID, with any changing rules or regulations that's going on that they need to know about, letting them know about it, but also letting them know that you are a resource. And then you have your groups that you create. You got your seniors over there. You got your young people over there. You've got your dancers. And so those are some of the things you can do. And as Roxanne and others give you guidance and direction around the deliverables, that's going to help you identify and schedule the things that you need to deliver. Let's see here.
Hey, Julius, can you also, I think we're all very curious about the space that you're in. Can you maybe take us on a little tour, so now we can maybe pull some of these elements together and understand how you've begun to outfit your Democracy Center?
Exactly. So the way we do it down here. So that's Kim. You know, we have this space here when folks can come in. We've got information set up over here, but this is in the Plow and Pew Reading Room and Democracy Center. So this is it. This is it. So over here to your left, we have a desk set up. This is where the program manager sits. So anybody that comes in, she's able to touch them. They can come in. Over here, we have a collection. This is 188 leather-bound volumes of the official records of the Civil War, and encouraging people to, again, to read, to think critically. Over here, we have our special collections, the complete set of Dr. Carter G. Woodson's Journal of Negro History. We have Opportunity, an early African-American journal that was published in the 20s. And then up here, we have some of our democracy heroes. So you see Dr. Martin Luther King when he was a little boy, former ambassador, Paul Robeson, our sister who was the astronaut, John H. Johnson, Mary McLeod Bethune, the Black Panther Party. So what we've done is we've combined, freedom fighters with literacy and education. This whole section is on women. So you've got everybody here from Toni Morrison, Angela Davis, Terry McMillan, Sonia Sanchez, Toni Morrison, Marcus Garvey. So the idea here is we're hitting them visually with people that represent. There's Coretta Scott King. So they're able to see freedom fighters as well as democracy activists, and then they've got the books that they have access to and the information center where we have democracy materials. And then we have these tables where you can have groups set up. And in the back here, we've got a full kitchen so we can cook, we feed them. You gotta feed these people. They love to eat. So but healthy foods. You want the celery, you want the carrots, you want the fruits, but you wanna feed them, give them something to drink, but create an environment where they are comfortable and let them own it. So we've got the ceiling fans going, we've got the books, and then this is where democracy happens. And when we have events, we have this altar that we restored from Mount Olive Primitive Baptist Church. It was an altar that we were able to save and restore as a part of our heritage work from an African-American church that burned. And then next door, come on, Kim. And then next door here, now we're outside and we're going right next door. I'm hoping the internet stays on. And then we come in here and it's more democracy. So right in here, there's Miss Kim there. Say hey to Andrea. Hi, Andrea. Yes, we're on a training. And then in here, we've got a gift shop here and more visuals in here. Some of our community members here. Everything is about community. So you're bringing in members from the community so that they own it. There's a picture. You guys know those folks there. That's the first family. So the idea here is we're using heritage. There's Annie Lee's porch. So we do historical reenactments on Annie Lee's porch. So folks can come in here, have a seat on the kente. They look at Annie Lee's porch, but guess what they learn about? There's a woman up there and she's Annie Lee and she's from the 1920s. And she's not only telling them the story about quilting and what times were like then, but she's talking about the first time she voted and what it was like to vote down here in Georgia, reclaim our vote. So right in here, we've got, the young students who integrated the lunch counters from North Carolina A&T, So this is an exhibit, but it's also a functional space where we serve tea. In here, these were the students that came from the North and with Black people working on change. Then we've got an exhibit on Dr. Martin Luther King's jail cell. It's an exact replica where we talk about the new Jim Crow and his famous letter from a Birmingham jail, inspiring people with voting and the power of reclaiming their vote. We tell the story of Mr. Skinny, the youngest person ever executed in the United States, 14 years old. Then over here, again, it's more heritage, it's more democracy. So in here is the civil rights. So right here, we have placards. So we created these demand equal rights, demand voting rights, end segregated rules in public schools. So using those historical placards, and of course, you got to have Dr. Martin Luther King and Rosa Parks and Angela Davis and Coretta Scott and Malcolm, again, telling the story of democracy. This is the American story. So they come in, and while they're learning the history and the culture, they're also learning about how to participate in the democratic process. You know, what do postcards look like if you're running for office? Using my own experience, which they can relate to locally, to encourage them. Get involved in running for student government. Get involved in, being a poll watcher, just using the historical documents. The bottom line is using history, using what you have to get what you want. In your community, it might be water, it might be the beach, it might be whatever. I think it's really powerful when you can connect heritage and literacy to democracy. And so just being creative. So this is what the space looks like, and how we combine the history and culture and literacy to be the center of gravity for this community. And then once you if you conceptualize that you are the democracy center, that's going to empower you to just look at, okay, what do I have and how do we get started? So think about curating and exhibiting. Think about curating and exhibiting. So what is the exhibit? The exhibit is democracy. How do you curate that? Well, maybe we need some flags. Maybe we need your local community of democracy. What is the story of democracy in your community? What happened there? Something happened there. And when you get those voter registration lists and you hear the stories. So one of the things we love doing is recording stories from our seniors. Let them tell you what it was like. What do they think about what's going on? Capturing that information, recording it and showcasing it, because you want to bring the community into the space. So we do a lot of things, for example, with photographs and newspapers, because we have a newspaper that goes back to 1866. It's the Hawkinsville Dispatch. So this is from 1900, and we find historical articles about democracy, about heritage. Here are photographs of just local people. Here's a wedding from the 1950s. But when you capture these photographs and you bring them into your space, all of a sudden, those folks that can't read, they can engage intellectually through memory. Because one of the things we talk about is the power of remembrance. So we say that our community has been dismembered. In order to remember, we have to remember. So remembrance is figurative and literal. It both heals in bringing you back together, but it also recalls the past. So we try to do a lot with memory, and because a lot of our community members can't read. So we've got to engage them intellectually. And this is one of the challenges when you are trying to get them to vote. And sometimes they do absentee ballot voting because they can't read and they want someone else. They want to vote, but they're ashamed to go into the polling booth. So what we're going to do in here is we're going to create a voting booth where we can actually do training and do a whole exhibit specifically designed to empower our community members to get more comfortable in the voting process. And so you get started with what you have, and you work with you have, you be imaginative, creative, and you meet with your team. It's your team. You meet with your team and you figure out, okay, what are we doing? You look at the roadmap, you get your strategic plan, you think about your outcomes and what it is that you want to do. How do you do your assessments? How do you do your focus groups? How do you do your sample studies? You got to talk to people. You got to get a feel for the neighborhood and understand the rhythm and the pulse of the neighborhood, because you're not coming in to pull people or to push people. You got to get in the middle. You got to get in the middle and let them carry the Democracy Center. They have to embrace the Democracy Center if you're going to be successful. And you do that by getting buy-in and including them from the beginning, letting them know, hey, this is what we're doing over here. There's a party over here. This is where you need to be. This is what's happening. And how do you demystify that? By making it simple and including ordinary, everyday people.
Hey, Julius, I'm going to ask you to take a breath. I think you went 20 minutes on a single breath there. I appreciate it. I think I see, you can't see people nodding their heads on Zoom and the smiles, but know that that's what's happening. So I want to pause for a moment. So, because this has to be interactive, I think, to really be useful. And I have to say, let's see, Jordan Bell and David Denham joined, as did Juan Smith. And when I saw Jordan join, Jordan is in Roanoke, representing the Gainsborough community. And Jordan and some of the folks there shared with me just the tremendous story of devastation to the Black community that took place as a part of urban renewal. It took place as a deliberate disinvestment, took place in the 30s and 40s and running Black businesses out of town. And so that reminds me that there's a history of place and a story of place that that may be told through the Democracy Center. I'm not saying it needs to be, but I think there are some very powerful stories there that help to personify or make relevant the Democracy Center. So Jordan, I hope you're okay with me calling out the Gainsborough community that way. But let me stop and see, what questions, and please feel free to ask any question at all. And when you ask a question, say who you are and where you're from.
All right, well, Roxanne, how you doing?
Hey, Gary.
And look, I tell you what, it feels real good when I'm in a room with like-minded folks. Even though we're not sitting in the same room, we still are, right?
Amen. Hug.
So when I'm sitting back, I'm listening to the wonderful things that are going on there with the Democracy Center. It makes me feel real good because let us know really we're on the right track. We're not too far off from what it is we see happening, So it's inspiring to me because, again, I'm one of those kind of guys that if I dream about something, I'll wake up and tell somebody so that dream is now breathed into this reality to make it real and make it happen right now. So when I listen to this and I see this, it fits right inside my dream. It fits inside my vision. So I appreciate you for giving the opportunity to see what somebody else is doing, to know that I'm not too far off. Just so that you can see real quick, let me see if I can, I'm over the spot right now, and I'm gonna turn the camera around. So I'm gonna give y'all a quick walk. So we walk on in.
And by the way, Gary is in Richmond, Virginia, and they're standing up a Democracy Center there.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. I'm Reverend Gary Callis with the Children Light Foundation. More or less what I do is actually, I relegate and designate myself as a resource manager. And what that means is if you don't know people, policy or procedures, and you call yourself a resource manager, you're a liar. So when it comes to Richmond, now I don't know, if I leave Richmond, I might not be anybody. But here, there's not a door that's denied to me. I can walk anywhere, I can do anything, I can meet anybody anywhere. So I work with the city of Richmond Public School System basically as an advocate, because I'm a PTA president of 5 schools. I'm the chairman of the Special Education Advocate Council. I'm on the Oversight Committee for Education for NAACP. So I do a lot of different independent things inside the city, but this building basically gives me the opportunity to have the resources that I work with all come to one place. So folks, we giving people one phone number, one number to call, one place to visit when they want information about anything. So the Democracy Center, the Centers for Common Ground and the Democracy Centers of Virginia fits right inside the scope of what we're doing. My main view is understanding at the advent of slavery, one thing we did not have, and that's the infrastructure of economic development that will allow us to thrive in a society that was built off of selling us and exploiting us. So we need to find a way to erase all the things that the red lines, the black codes, the Jim Crow, and the mass incarceration of black men, how they decimated our communities with those things, and then taking all of the centers of making money, all the factors away from our communities. We've got to find a way to bring those things back, and the only way to make that thing back is to educate our people on the game, how to vote, how legislation actually works, and how these things work in our communities, and how we need to be a part of the decision-making on the things that take place with us. Well, anyway, let me get off of that. So I want to show y'all what's going on around here, okay? So when you walk in the door, here is the desk for our executive right there to sit there for the Democracy Center. They got a desk in the front room. And then this is our this is our mini conference table. That's our kitchen area over there. So I got my I got my little double fry over there, my flat iron. I got my counter grills. And if y'all didn't know, Gary Callis can cook. So I'll let y'all sample it one day, but that's a story for another day. So anyway,
look. You all can't cook like we cook down here in Georgia.
Brother, let me tell you something. Some folks say they can cook. I won't know until I eat it. But for real, I can cook. And it's not me saying it, it's other folks. Hey, lady, can I cook, man? Right? So look, this is the command center.
Challenge.
I hear him talking.
This room right here is an extension of the front office to where we're going to have chairs and things set up in here to where we can have our meetings and our engagements, our trainings or whatever. We're going to have the mock voting booth set up right there in that corner right there. We're going to have pictures of things on the wall, letting folks know what's going on and whatever. This will be the wall that our screen goes on. We'll have a nice surround sound system in here. Then this room right here is the copy room, make our copies and t-shirts. And then this big room back in the back allows us to do exercising, auto mechanic, craft work, whatever. But there's a drain in the back. So any kind of things on the floor, we can just wash it away. There's a bay door right there. Let me show you where the bay door goes. I love this part right here. I really do. I really do. All right, so go to the bay door and we step out until about a quarter acre in the back. In this quarter acre,
Love it.
I've already called Scaffold, and they're going to come and build a 16-foot by 20-foot stage right here. We've already talked. We're going to have their sheet metal people come, and they're going to cut a door right there in the middle, so the people can go in right here. They can change their clothes, do whatever, and then step out onto our stage. In the back corner, this is where our garden is going to be. Christiana's being real big about getting his garden to our community garden. So my plan is during the daytime, we have color copy machines, we have fax machines, we have Wi-Fi internet service, we have all that here. So I am a resource manager, like I said. So when people come, we have a full suite of business, business services we can provide. We set up your EINs, your LLCs, your nonprofits. We have copies, flyers, websites, mobile marketing. So basically whatever you need to get your business rolling, we can do it here. On side of that, inside the city, I'm hooked in with almost every city agency. Everything that the city of Richmond has at their disposal, I have access to. Everything that the Richmond Public Schools has, I have access to. So right now, I'm in the process of working out a clearer pathway for our kids to go from education to occupation, because they've always stigmatized us into a fact, all of y'all got to go to college, and then those that don't, you're going to fail. Well, we have to create an opportunity for our kids, not only to educate them, but give them an opportunity so they don't actually look for a job. So they're going to give me all of the vacant properties in the Black community to open up workable businesses where we train the kids and put them in those businesses inside our community. Well, anyway, let me go. There's a whole lot of stuff going on here, y'all. All right. So again, that's the garden. That's gonna be over here, right? Then I'm gonna have during the week, I'm gonna have 2 food trucks. One that's gonna park right there, and one that's gonna park in front of the garden. People can sit in the middle, and I call this the Lighthouse Courtyard. See, the Children Light is called the Children Light Resource Center, but it's dubbed the Lighthouse. I'm the oldest of 7 foster children, and my mom and dad did a great job of taking care of a whole lot of kids over a 50-year period. So I'm dedicating the Lighthouse to the lives of Catelia M. and Ida M. Callis, which are my parents. So anyway, folks can come, they can sit here in the middle during the week, eat their food, go inside, make color copies, make faxes, make phone calls, but at the same time, get the information they need about legislation that's being passed that concerns us as far as businesses and things that go in our community. They can also do faxes, do computer searches. Right now, the Resource Center, right now, to right this point, we have the ability to refer 248 homeless people to beds. We also have the ability to do case management, provide transportation for drug addiction, reentry, and for mental health support. So we have the ability to do a whole lot of things here because we know that the community is hurting. We're ailing. So we're going to pull these things in one place, and we're not going to wait for you to walk through the door. We actually have boots on the ground that go out and actually identify homeless people to bring them in, do an intake, and find out why you're homeless, and then put the services around you to make sure you become self-sustaining and benefiting from what we have here. So it's a great thing. I'm glad that I had a chance to talk to Roxanne about the Democracy Center's coming because it fits right in with what we need. We are, just as I heard a moment ago, we are the resource. It's the people. But the people need to know what they're doing in order to act accordingly. And right now we can't act accordingly because we've been misinformed or not informed at all. So again, I appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you, Gary. Thank you, Gary. And I hope you take from both of these examples, Julius Johnson and Gary Callis, that the Democracy Center is going to look different wherever it is. It's going to be tailored to the local environment. It should be integrated in with the mission of your organization. So objective today is, provide you ideas, show you some examples, and hopefully get the wheel turning. Let me see what questions there are out there. And you can just raise your hand the old-fashioned way, or if you want to be slick and use the feature in Zoom, either one worked for me.
Roxanne.
Yes, Julius.
One of the points I wanted to make.
And ET does have a question, so I just want to say.
That's critical. That's critical. And that is really understanding how to analyze, assess, understand, interpret, and leverage data. That is a key competency that hopefully will be developed at the Democracy Center. And Andrea, I'm sure, is spearheading giving us those resources so that we're able to map our community and understand data and how to really look into a community from without losing the human component, but really understanding data in terms of, registration levels, voting participation, unregistered voters, and what does the data tell us? And how can we use the data to target and to align our outreach efforts strategically? So as much as we talk about the curation and the exhibition of democracy, and it's human-centric and all of that is spot on, I want to just make the point that this is also the data piece is very, very powerful. And as we develop that competency, it's going to be a tool that can change elections.
Hey, Andrea, do you want to say a couple of words about that?
Again, Center for Common Ground, we are data-driven. Data is power. Well, actually, data is nothing. The ability to look at data and convert it into information that you can then act on and use it to convert to power, that is what we want to be able to do. That's what Center for Common Ground does. So we have built a team at National that will be really important in terms of helping with that, and people in centers who really have an interest in delving into that, we can work with you to train you on our tools. And we have all the digital tools, or basically we have digital tools that keep pace with any other organization that is out there. Whatever they have, we have, and we've even got stuff that they don't know they should have. So yes.
Thank you, Andrea. EC, you had a question?
Yes, thanks, Roxanne. My name is E.C. Rentz. I'm from Huntsville, Alabama. I'm a member of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated here in the state of Alabama, and we are in the infancy stages of partnershiping with the Center for Common Ground and establishing democracy centers here in Alabama. So because of that, one of my questions, and I've been very impressed by the information that's been disseminated and also the appearances. But one of my main questions and one of our concerns being here in Huntsville, we're considered the technology center of the South. So a lot of what we're going to be doing along with having hands-on, but also utilizing technology to give information to some of our rural areas outside of our center locations. And what I wanted to ask the two speakers at this point is, how did they get information outside of their actual center location to their surrounding areas? We hopefully will be utilizing our students, since we have about 5 colleges around in the area, that we're going to incorporate students who are in that mindset to help us to go out in our communities and make sure that they are informed with the information that we're able to provide to them. But what I wanted to know is, what resources did you use at this particular point? Thanks, Roxanne.
Let me grab that one. Let me grab that one. Because Hawkinsville opened up literally 2 weeks before the Georgia runoff, we provided minivan data for them to be able to go and canvass literally in their area. And they basically knocked on 2,100 doors from December 21st, when they literally launched, to January 5th, when the election was, and they had 1,700 conversations, because the Newberry Foundation was so recognized as being integral to the community. So because we are going to have a ramp time in Alabama, we don't have an election breathing down our neck right now, then we will be able to be more deliberate with you and work, I guess, maybe a little closer with you, developing what you want. Hawkinsville is very local. Your 3 centers are looking at ultimately blanketing the state of Alabama.
Correct.
Yes.
Thank
so
you.
We're going to be working hand in hand to figure out what you need, when you need it. So you'll be identifying communities where you want to do outreach. We'll be working together. What do you want that outreach to look like? Do you want to try to text it? Do you want to door knock it? Do you want to phone bank it? Do you want a combination of the two? Do you want to postcard it? We'll figure all that out.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Thank you, EC.
All right. Any other, what other questions do we have out there? Kate in North Carolina, or Monica, or Christiane. Oh, okay, I see you got your hand up. Go ahead, Christiane.
I find this very, very helpful. And I also want to add to that the call, the Center for Common Ground call last night with Reverend Woodbury was phenomenal. And I just want to encourage that if there's some kind of, we can keep this communication. I mean, it's the communication between the different centers, and because we're kind of all at the infant stages, and that we can learn from each other what we're doing, and just to really keep these avenues of communication open, and create this network. And I mean, I really see, I know Roxanne, we were talking about doing a tour with the RV, and as a way to bring these communities together. And I mean, I just see this as one big family and a powerful family, and that we can really, so I don't know, I just want to put that out there. I know it's not so much of a question as an ask, that we set up some kind of open
We are in the process of building that. We're going to start with a Google group where we'll be able to immediately reach out and talk with each other. What I want to do for people who may not know Christiane and Lorna, they've made references to the RVG, the Ruthless Vote Getter. That is our 27-foot Winnebago RV, and Christiane is the driver, and Lorna is part of the RV crew. So you've got two of the three people that travel around the South with the RV. So in 2020, the RVG was in North Carolina, South Carolina. She went to Georgia 5 separate times. That RV left Virginia and went down to Georgia. So 2021, the elections are going to be in Virginia. So the RVG is mostly going to be at home. But yeah.
Well, we did just go to, we did just go to Roanoke.
That's right. And who knows, maybe we'll get you out to some of these other places this year yet. We'll see how that schedule shapes up. But Christiane, know that indeed that's our intention, is to create a network here where there is a sharing of information, of lessons learned and experiences, and growing and learning from one another. This is the first, and hopefully what is a continuing dialogue between our democracy centers, our prospective democracy centers, and to draw also from each of you, and to share that way. Nancy also posted in the chat the YouTube link to Reverend Woodbury's presentation last night. So Reverend Woodbury represents the second Democracy Center in Florence, South Carolina. And he's been a climate justice, environmental justice activist for the last 30 years. Very powerful presentation. If you have a moment, check that out as well. So we've got a little background noise there, so I'd ask that you mute. So we're at 5:56. We probably have time for one more question. I do want to adjourn us on time and let you enjoy the rest of your weekend. But is there one more question before we wrap up here? Any other questions? I can't believe my folks in North Carolina and Cobb County and Juan over in Georgia, all these folks who I know typically are not quiet. Martin? No? Okay.
I've enjoyed the session, and I thank you for the invitation. I'm looking forward to future sessions, and so please keep me on your list of your distribution list. EC, we have Omega Psi-Phi in common, and Andrea had mentioned to me that the bros in Alabama were working with the Center for Common Ground, so I know you're going to share that information with me.
We'll be so happy to do that, my brother.
All right.
Yeah, and Martin, for sure, if there are organizations there in or around Alexandria, if this encouraged you to think about maybe some groups that we ought to talk with, would love to have those conversations.
Okay, good.
Yes.
Roxy,
Yes.
this is Ben Williams from Cobb County. Didn't have any questions, but very much appreciated the sharing. And as I reflect upon our conversation and what it is that we are prepared to do in Cobb County, that's very much in line with, but certainly not as powerful as what it could be, by following some of the examples and guidance that has been shared by Julius and the other gentleman. Okay, very much excited about it. Think that once we fine tune some of the things in our partnership with Family Life Restoration Center, that's been in the community for over 15 years and has actually been a hub of really working with folk to help them to, deal with food insecurity, clothing and temporary shelter, as well as some health services. We think we have a good foundation to build on. We're exploring now some possibilities to address some of the learning gaps that a number of our students experienced as they were being, acclimated, introduced to, abused by school districts, not providing that kind of stability that families and students need, during the school year. Okay, but this has been helpful. Okay, this has been very helpful, and looking forward to talking with you or whomever after this to raise Dr. King's question, Julius, to find out where do we go from here.
Yeah. Amen, amen. And I look forward to furthering that conversation with you, Dr. Williams, and with the Family Life Restoration Center. And I can't express enough that each one of these democracy centers will look different. And Julius had the wherewithal to include the cultural heritage arts center and to integrate democracy so beautifully with the work that they were already doing there in Hawkinsville. And I think it'll be beautiful, however is integrated into an existing mission, into an organization that's doing great work in the community. Amazing things happen when we're intentional and partner together. So I look forward to advancing those conversations with you and others in and around Cobb County. And of course, in North Carolina as well, and in Roanoke, Virginia, and other places. So with that, I'm going to say good evening, everyone, and enjoy your weekend. And thanks for participating. I cannot thank you enough, Julius, for that lovely, informative presentation. You've got us all inspired. And also Reverend Callis, Gary Callis, thank you. I didn't ask you, but you stepped up and presented as well. What a treat for us all.
Roxanne.
So, thank you very much.
Can you share the Newberry Foundation contact information with the team and let them know they can reach out to me if they, if there's anything I can do, I'm available, but share the website and contact information. They can like us on Facebook as well.
I will certainly do that. And so I will also share the recording at the same time, and I'll put together something. Do not look for that email this evening. It'll likely come over the weekend.
So that's the newberryfoundation.org, the newberryfoundation.org. Thank you, Roxanne.
Okay. All right. Thank you, everyone. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Enjoy your weekend.
Enjoyed it. Tremendous.
Take care.
Excellent.
Good evening, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, Lorna.
Lovely meeting you all.
Bye, Christiana.